Good morning and welcome to On the Pen, this special Friday morning edition of On the Pen. I hope you're all doing well today. There has never been a better time in world history to be diagnosed with the disease of type 2 diabetes. There is so much hope out there that there wasn't even 5-6 years ago. My friends, happy World Diabetes Day today. We're going to get into a special live stream on the news facing patients living with obesity and type 2 diabetes this morning. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the On the Pen podcast with your host, Dave Knapp.
How's everyone doing today? Welcome. My name is Dave Knapp. I am the proprietor here of On the Pen. We bring obesity medicine news to patients from the patient perspective to empower patients to have more competent and confident conversations with their medical providing team. That's what we do here. We do it each and every week, and we're doing it full time now. And so it's good to be here with you on a Friday morning. There's kind of a lot of interesting news going on right now. Nothing, groundbreaking or earth shattering, but a few things that are definitely interesting. One of the things that we saw over the last 24 hours was a major announcement from a publicly traded telehealth platform called Mangoceuticals or Mango RX. They've also got like a Peaches RX. I don't know. They're going with a fruit theme there. But whatever they're doing, they got some serious stones because this time last year, Mango RX was actually sued by Eli Lilly, and they were sued over a really interesting. They were one of the first companies out there to really start to promote this idea of compounded oral versions of these obesity medications. So they had this program called Trim. I'm going to see if I can share this here with y'all. But Trim was a oral chewable Tirzepatide tablet. And they ended up getting sued by Eli Lilly over this and their marketing of it. And I found it quite fascinating last year, so much so that actually I ended up screenshotting what you saw there, which is the Trim RX chewable tablets. Now, what makes this story sort of pertinent today or kind of interesting today is that actually what we saw was a huge announcement yesterday from Mango Pharmaceuticals that they were partnering with Eli Lilly and partnering with Novo Nordisk to sell the branded versions of GLP-1 medications. Now, this was quite an interesting turn of events because, again, they were sued by Eli Lilly. So ultimately, later in the day, what we saw was Eli Lilly came out with a press statement. We saw Novo Nordisk do something similar, I believe, with Hims and Hers Health back a few months ago. But definitely these pharmaceutical companies are going out of their way to distance themselves from certain telehealth companies that want to glom on to the name of the big pharmaceutical companies. And Mango RX was the latest one to kind of get caught up in that. And so it's a real interesting time when you see these press releases from some of these telehealth companies looking to attach to the brand name versions of these medications. And then you see sort of this counter strike from Big Pharma saying we have nothing to do with these people. Now, for clarity, because I think this always comes up when we talk about this topic of conversation, when it comes to the direct cash pay versions of whether we're talking about semaglutide, Wegovy, or Ozempic, or we're talking about Zepbound, Tirzepatide from Eli Lilly, both of these companies have their direct-to-consumer platforms, Lilly Direct, NovoCare, where any doctor, your primary care provider, if they're willing to write a prescription, can write that prescription, send it into Lilly Direct or NovoCare, and you can get it filled directly from their pharmacy via mail order. Any prescriber can send that. There's no limit on what prescribers are able to use Lilly Direct or NovoCare. And so that said, of course, a telehealth company can offer these branded medications, but at the end of the day, there's rarely a formal partnership between these companies. I would say Ro is one of the rare exceptions where they partnered with Lilly Direct to offer the Zepbound vials, and they offer it directly through their platform. So in other words, when it's prescribed through Ro, you get it directly through their platform, rather than having to leave and go to Lilly Direct, etc. That was the only true partnership that I had heard of at the time. There may have been a couple more similar to that since then. If there has been, I'm unaware of them. But there seems to be always these announcements where a telehealth company will be like, we're partnering with Lilly. Well, ultimately what they mean, and it's coded for, we are offering the Zepbound cash pay vials. We're going to send the prescription in, but ultimately just know that your primary care doctor can prescribe those too. If you don't want to go through a telehealth platform to get the direct cash pay, you don't have to. Theoretically, if you have a provider that's willing to write that prescription and send it into Lilly Direct or NovoCare. And so hopefully that clears a little bit of that up. But you saw like a 20% stock pop for Mango Pharmaceuticals yesterday. And then, of course, that came directly back down to earth shortly thereafter. So kind of a fascinating deal there. But I want to take a moment and welcome everyone in as you're jumping in here. Welcome to On the Pen. My name is Dave Knapp. I am the proprietor here. We share obesity medicine news from the patient perspective to empower you to have more competent and confident conversations with your medical providing team. So if that sounds like information that would be helpful to you in any way, if you can hit the thumbs up button, follow along, hit the subscribe button wherever you're watching, and drop it in the comments. Let me know where you're watching. I'm going to catch up with the comments here. Sorry, I've got a weird screen orientation today. I want to say hi to DJ. Best Sell, CJ, Neo Queen is in the house. Calamity Jane, Sue the Dude's in here. Robert Ramsey watching over on Facebook. Good to see you all here. Thank you for being here. Michael Clanton, I see you in there as well. Nancy, we've got some members over on YouTube, so thanks. I'm going to throw your comments up here on the screen so that I can keep up with those. But some really interesting news from Zealand Pharmaceuticals. Now, we put out a video earlier this week. We talked about it on the podcast, sort of the history of GLP-1 medications. And of course, one of the things that's dominating the headlines right now is just the fact that Eli Lilly is continuing to dominate the market. We saw with the launch of Mounjaro over in India that Eli Lilly is outpacing new prescriptions for Mounjaro over Wegovy over there at a 10-to-1 clip. So 260,000 new prescriptions for Mounjaro I believe it was last month, versus 26,000 for Novo Nordisk's Ozempic. And so one of the fascinating things here is that you see Lilly continue to dominate the market and likely will end up with a $1 trillion market cap in very short order, which is just an absolutely huge testament to the effectiveness of Zepbound. You know, they've been more aggressive with their marketing of Zepbound over the last, I don't know, say year. But prior to that, there just wasn't that much marketing compared to some of the marketing that you've seen of other prescription drugs. And yet they have really become king of the hill in terms of new prescriptions being written. I believe it's the most popular drug right now in existence. And so obviously that's a testament to the efficacy of Tirzepatide, to the tolerability of Tirzepatide, and really, I think, to the increasing accessibility of Tirzepatide. Now, one of the things that I wanted to sort of segue to in this topic of conversation is Zealand Pharmaceuticals. Now, Zealand Pharmaceuticals had a candidate that was called Depiglitide, and we've covered it a little bit here on the pen because we always like some of these smaller companies that are doing investigations into potential molecules that may help to treat the disease of obesity. And we always love the idea of new players getting in to the space. That's why it was really good news last week when we heard that Pfizer won over Novo Nordisk in that battle for Metsera with their once a month GLP-1, once a month amylin agonist, and their oral peptide platform, right? So $10 billion did Pfizer pay, and that was just agreed to by the shareholders. So we saw that all kind of come up over the last couple of days. So to see that breaking up of this duopoly of basically Lilly and Novo owning the market, similar to the way that we saw for some time with the insulin market. in the United States. We always love to see smaller companies get into, and Zealand was one of them. So they just announced that they're actually dropping dapiglutide or dapiglutide, however you want to say. This is the Iowa Hawkeye peptide for me, dapiglutide, as pigs outnumber people in the state of Iowa 2-1, I believe. So after dropping the early stage results for dapiglutide or dapiglutide, which is a GLP-1, GLP-2 agonist. Yes, you heard that right, GLP-2. There, if you're like, that's brand new, well, stands to reason that there's a GLP-1, there's probably a GLP-2. Otherwise, it would just be called GLP. But GLP-2 is actually used in the treatment of some rare digestive issues. But this one attempted to combine GLP-1 and GLP-2. But the reality is, as time goes on, the new drugs that hit the market, if they're going to compete, have to differentiate themselves in a massive way. And really, at this point, with some of the pipeline medications that we know are very close to coming to market, like CagriSema and Retatrutide from Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, and then some of the other ones that are, on the horizon here. We're still waiting for results in that phase 3 clinical trial of survodutide from Boehringer Ingelheim. We're waiting to hear more about the phase 3 trials for Maritide, which is an Amgen product. There are other companies on the horizon that are going to have interesting drugs that develop in terms of how often you have to dose them, in terms of their efficacy. But we're getting to the point where these drugs are no longer, it will no longer be about efficacy, right? We'll be able to get people's weight down with the future of these drugs. But the question becomes, what does the quality of weight loss look like? What does the preservation of muscle mass look like? And that's sort of the future of where these medications go. So when you look at some of these early stage companies that are developing like a dual GLP-1, GLP-2, it sounds very cool. But really, it has to it has to get up to 25% weight loss to start to differentiate from Retatrutide, which is going to be on the market in about a year and a half. And this is in phase 1, so 5 years away. So what good is this when it hits the market 5 years from now, when there are already drugs that supersede this drug's ability to get people's weight down? So you're going to see an increasing number of these companies that have to pivot, or they have to pick a molecule and then find a way to combine it with something that helps to preserve muscle mass, something that helps to improve the quality of weight loss. Because I think that is really where the shift in this industry is going to: less frequent dosing, oral formulations, and increasing the potency of orals, which is why I believe that Metsera deal was so big, because I don't believe it was as much. I mean, it definitely was about the once a month medications, the amylin agonist and the GLP-1 agonist, but I think just as much, if not more, it was about their oral peptide platform that allows patients to basically or allows these companies rather to make oral versions of their peptides that help to increase the oral bioavailability of these drugs. And so we'll see orals expand, less frequent dosing expand, and then efficacy becomes less of an issue, and the quality of weight loss sort of becomes the elevated topic of conversation. I'm frozen on my screen over here. I don't know if y'all can still hear me, if you're all still tracking, but if you could let me know in the comments if you're still tracking with me. My video screen seems to be frozen, but at the same time, it seems like the live stream is still ticking away. So let me see if I can take care of this for just one moment. Bear with me. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get the camera back. This is perfect timing, actually, that this is happening, because I literally have new equipment coming in the next couple of days. Actually, starting today, I've got a new computer that is more beefy, that can handle these live streams a bit better. And then I've got a new camera coming. I don't know if y'all remember this, but back when we did a special not members, but community event in Washington, D.C., where we took everyone to Top Golf. I got some great footage from that, but I used the camera that I stream with, which is about $1,000 camera when you figure the extra battery, the lenses, and everything that I had. Not a tremendous amount of money when you talk about how much money one could spend with a camera. But it was a huge investment for me at the time that I bought it, because I wasn't making a lot of money with the podcast. And so, we're always just investing back what we can. And so I ended up leaving that camera in an Uber, and the Uber driver, let's say, was not very forthcoming about the fact that it was left in the car, and did not return that to me. So not only did I lose, $1,000 piece of equipment, on a day where I was also hosting an event that we were paying for. It was just a big hit to the On the Pen pocketbook at that time. So I've been sort of waiting. I've been running off of a lesser camera since then, and now I have ended up making another big investment here. So we've got a new computer coming that can handle the live streams a little bit better, because we've had this happen like maybe once or twice, which isn't terrible, but it is annoying when you're trying to run a live stream. So new equipment forthcoming. So this is timely that this decided to screw up here. So we talked about the Zealand Pharmaceutical issues, dropping Tirzepatide. We talked about Mango Pharmaceuticals and their announcement that they were partnering with Lilly, and then Lilly coming out and basically saying, hey, there's no such thing here. I just want to take a moment to again acknowledge that it's World Diabetes Day. And I got to say that it is a absolute pleasure to be able to lead this On the Pen community, myself a type 2 diabetic. And while the concept of having diabetes and a diabetes diagnosis can be a very scary thing, I want to acknowledge how far science has come and the medications that are available out there that are helping patients in a way that even if you were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes 5 to 10 years ago, there is just so much more hope today. So if you are somebody who is facing a recent diagnosis of type 2 diabetes, I just want to say welcome, and we're glad that you're here. And I also want to say that there's hope. And that's one of the things that we talk about on this podcast very often, is we talk about the fact that there are these medications that are treating your blood sugar effectively, and they're helping lose weight. And we talk about these medications literally every day on this channel. So if that kind of hope is something that appeals to you, that sounds like it might be beneficial, I hope that you'll hit the subscribe button. I hope that you'll hang out here a little bit as well. And I just also want to encourage anyone who's listening within the sound of my voice, if you are wanting to support the work that we do here at On the Pen, one of the easiest ways you can do that is pop over to otplinks.com. otplinks.com is the landing page for basically all of the exclusive discounts that different companies we partner with that sponsor our podcast offer to the On the Pen community. So if you haven't checked that out in a while, please jump over there and check it out. otplinks.com will be a great resource for that. And also, if you're a patient looking for manufacturer savings cards, information on how to save money on these medications, if you decide that you want to explore them to treat the disease of type 2 diabetes or obesity, you're going to be able to find great resources over there too. So we put a lot of work into otplinks.com, and we've got more resources coming. So this past couple of weeks, we had major announcements from the Trump administration that Medicare will now be covering obesity medicine. For $50 a month, you'll be able to get Zepbound. For $50 a month, you'll be able to get Wegovy, depending on what drug you and your doctor decide is best to treat your disease in your specific condition. And there are reasons to choose one over the other, depending on what conditions you have. So we want to empower you to have more competent and confident conversations with your doctor. So that's what we're doing here. And that's what OTP Links is about. But we've got some new resources coming that we're working on feverishly. In fact, when I jump off this live stream, that's going to take up the rest of my Friday, is working on some resources. If you are a Medicare patient and you're looking for a way to get information about what does it mean to start a GLP-1 medication? What are the conversations that I need to have with my doctor? What are the considerations I need to have when I'm selecting a Part D plan? How much is the drug going to cost me? What kind of side effects am I going to have to prepare myself for? All of these things are answers that we want to put in a single hub that allows you to basically have a place where you can go to get that information. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'm going to put a lot of work into it, but I want to hear from you whether that seems like a beneficial tool to put some time and energy into. So if that is, put Medicare in the chat. And if you would just drop me a line at davidonthepen.com. I would love to hear from you as the listeners of On the Pen, what kind of resources you would like to see in addition to what we've sort of outlined here. So with that said, I'm going to hang it up for this live stream today, but I really appreciate all of you and appreciate you being here with me today. You are the best part of what we do and why we do everything that we do it On the Pen. We couldn't, wouldn't, and shouldn't do it without you. I'm seeing some Medicares in the chat. So yes, we will have a resource up for you in the coming days. If you have an idea of what you would like to have on this website in this resource, in addition to what we've outlined here, please drop me a line at davidonthepen.com. Would love to hear from you. Thank you for being here, my friends. We will catch you on the next one. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me.